Own Backup protects against data loss and corruption by providing enterprise-level control of data across all your Salesforce orgs from a single dashboard. Interactive graphs make it easy to identify Salesforce data changes over time, and automated daily backups protect your Salesforce data, metadata, and attachments. Manage proactively with customizable smart alerts that notify you whenever data is added, changed, or deleted. Quickly search your entire backup archive to find specific records, remove records individually or in bulk, and stay compliant with internal and external regulations, including GDPR. Compare backups at the click of a button to locate the exact point at which data was lost or corrupted, and recover lost data quickly, regardless of scale. With Own Backup, you can restore data records with their corresponding parent-child relationships down to any level of granularity. Speed up development with Own Backup Sandbox Seeding and Replicate to create anonymized test data sets in minutes, while advanced key management and access controls help to keep your data secure. Backup, compare, recover, replicate, and comply with Own Backup for Salesforce.
We were just a bunch of nerdy kids who ignored the haters. We took their ridicule and we built on it. And when some of us gave up, well, we built on that too. Built resilience, built on a mission to make things a little better every day until the users came. Then the haters were VCs who scoffed at our audacity. This just isn't the way things are done. But we kept building. Users turned into teams, turned into companies, running their entire businesses on our apps. Then the software giants came after us. We weren't proven, we weren't fully featured, our radical cloud model wasn't secure. But we built on. And today, as companies adopt the cloud to move faster, teams are finding themselves slowed down by each other's efforts. The skeptics are claiming we'll never develop innovation at scale. But now, DevOps have come to the cloud, ushering in a new era of transformation. Companies can release on demand across hundreds of environments, innovating faster with fewer conflicts and fewer disruptions. There will always be challenges. There will always be naysayers. And we'll build on.
Welcome, everyone. Actually, the topic that we're going to be talking about now is building trust to enable success. It's a topic that's near and dear to me. As she said, my name is Marianne Langridge. I am the founder and CEO of a sustainability consulting firm based in Denver, and I split my time between Denver and the New England area. And my passion is leveraging data and technology to basically solve global problems, but my special focus is on sustainability in the global environment. I really believe that there is so much potential for technology. I've been in the technology arena for about 3 decades and have found, even though my background is engineering and analytics, that it's really people that are the special requirement to make things work. So I guess kind of a grounding assumption is that you've tuned in now because you also believe that there is a huge potential in data and computing and analytics to improve the world in some way. It could be to improve business, could be to improve the environment, education, healthcare. It doesn't matter what it is. I think we are all part of a community that really believes in this potential. And I want to talk about why trust is important to achieving that potential. So if you just take a moment and bring to mind someone that you trust. Kind of picture them in your mind. Could be someone you've known your whole life, someone you just met. Think of someone that you trust. And then try to trigger what it is that causes you to trust them. Why do you trust them? What kind of shared experiences do you have with this person? Is there something in particular that they have done regularly that has really contributed to your trust in them? do they know that you trust them? Is that something that's been verbalized between you? Or is it just a feeling that you have? And do you know if they trust you? So kind of pause and absorb that positive feeling you have about that person that you trust. And now bring to mind someone that you do not trust. And think of some similar things. Why don't you trust them? What is in your experiences with this person that's contributed to that lack of trust? And what behaviors broke your trust? Do they know that you don't trust them? And do you know if they trust you? So you have these two different visions here, I think. One of the first person you were called, and then this second person that you don't trust. And why does this matter? Well, it matters because if we believe that technology can change things, then we have to acknowledge that that change also requires some change to human behavior. People can't get out of, we can't get people out of the mix if we're going to improve things. It's really the human behavior that contributes the most to change. And I think this period that we're in right now, with people spending time in their homes, not being out and about, our dramatic behavior change over the last 2 to 3 months really has shown us that our behavior does matter. When we step away from our daily habits, the environment in particular really does benefit. But then, of course, there's other things that are harmed. The economy, for example, at least the way we're measuring the economy, has been impacted. So, another grounding assumption is that, human behavior matters, and human behavior and trust are very intricately interrelated. One of my favorite leadership quotes of all times, and this is a couple decades old, is from Tom Peters, and it's that leadership is love. Very simple set of words, but it has a lot of layers to the meaning. And fundamentally, it's as important because if you're leading change, then you can cause fear through that desire to create change. But as a psychological element, fear is the absence of love and trust. And I believe that more love or fearlessness is needed if we're going to really succeed, whether it's business, personal ventures, or any kind of community or social adventure that we want to take on. And you can't get to love without trust. So there's really a dichotomy here, right, between the technology that we're all passionate about and the people that we need to make the change happen. When you use technology to solve big problems, you're synthesizing things. You're bringing together both the analytical aspects of the data and the human factors that are, whether they're about how the data is collected or how the data is interpreted or what decisions or actions are taken. It's the pairing of the two, the analytical and the human, that is the activity, the project, the initiative, whatever you want to call it. Now, computing, as you all, I'm sure, are aware, is very structured and analytical. It's logical, it's repeatable. Humans are not. Humans are unpredictable. We have lots of emotions. We act on a complex myriad of factors based on our past experiences and perspectives. And no two perspectives and experiences in life are the same, which makes us appear unpredictable to others because they don't share our identical perspective. So what's it going to take to enable the potential of technology, bring together the merging of the human and the computing side of the equation? Trust. When you read the definition in the dictionary, trust is just, these words make absolute sense. you're relying on someone's character, you believe in their ability, you believe they tell you the truth, your confidence in them. These are words that I think probably came to mind when you were thinking about the person that you trust earlier a few minutes ago. Now, when you tackle a project, whether it's a system implementation or a community initiative, working with a nonprofit, working with a for-profit, working with the government, doesn't matter what your project is or who your customer is, most project plans these days include some element of change management. And they include team building activities. There's so many different models out there for change management these days. There's the ADKAR model, the McKinsey model, the Cotter model. There's many books and business classes have been put together on the topic of change management. And I have myself led quite a number of change management initiatives over the last 20 years. And I've come to realize, actually kind of late in the game maybe, that it's a little bit of a misnomer to say that change can be managed, because change is about humans, and humans are difficult to manage when they're under pressure. So having a project plan that includes change management activities is absolutely a critical success factor for most projects. But the activities themselves don't create the trust necessary to actually overcome the fear associated with the change. It's how you do those activities. It's the act of being human when you execute those activities that really creates the trust and the bonds that are necessary to let that change occur. You got to remember that trust, there's two sides of the coin. There's whether you trust others, the people that you're working with or interacting with, and have you earned their trust? Do they trust you? And you have to think about both of those factors as you go through a project, because it's, you can't take for granted that you're trusted. You have to earn it. And you have to realize if you are holding back trust of the others they're working with, then that's also impacting the success of the activity that you're working on. And it's important to be able to take action to do both of these things, to trust others and to earn their trust. There's a lot of layers to trust as well. When you're building relationships with people, all of these different layers have ripple effects with each other. So one of the first and most fundamental when you're starting a project or an initiative is the motives. Do the people involved trust the motives behind the project? When the motives are seemingly not resonating with someone's morals or with their values, it is going to be more difficult to get them on board to trust that this project makes sense or is worth their time or something they should support. Let's assume that the project and most projects are ethical, but if they're ethical but not aligned with someone's values, then there's going to be a disconnect in trust. For example, if someone is very passionate about community building and sustainability and equity and more the social side of a project, but the drivers behind the project and the communications around the project are all about money, then there's going to be a disconnect in that person's engagement in the effort. The second part of the layers of trust is ability. Now, often you overcome this in the project when you begin it, right? The people are brought together on that team usually because of some collective set of abilities that's necessary to execute the project that may be proven by a resume, past experiences, education, prior job work. Those kinds of things are how you usually get the feeling of skills across when you're talking about ability. But it's also how you execute those abilities that contributes to people's trust in you as well. And that gets us to this third layer of trust, which is authenticity. It's, okay, the motives of the project are good. We think we've got the right team with all the right abilities, but one-on-one, do I trust the people on this team to have my back and to hold up their share of the responsibilities to get this project done? So all three of these are really important factors in making sure that you've got the collective feeling of trust that's necessary to be successful. So how do you apply this on a project? I think initially it's important, whether this is done in a group setting or if it's just done in self-reflection, but to be clear about your personal intent in what you're trying to do. Is your intention in completing your project driven by your own ambitions? Is it because you want to prove yourself? Is it because you want to get a promotion? Is it because you want to be able to publish a paper or speak at a conference about this project? Those are all very valid things for you to care about, but how that's presented in a group environment can be misread. So thinking about when you're working with people, really focusing on, what is it about this project that is in service to the other people or just in service to some higher good. If you're working with a government, for example, what is the ultimate goal? If you're working with a customer and it's just about, it's connecting with their customers, helping them build relationships. The more you can frame things as being in service to the people you're working with or for, the better you're going to be able to set a good foundation for trust. Then consider the relationships on the project. Who do you trust and why? You may not have any history working with these people. If you're coming into a new environment, a new organization, working with people who you've not worked with before, then you have more to overcome in an effort to build trust. But it's not that difficult to do, right? It's just really being authentic and being presenting that service to others and building that sense of community feeling that will go a long way to building a trustful environment. Now, when you get beyond trust as an individual, there's also collective trust as a team. So when you've come to figure out how you're going to work together and that feeling of trust amongst your team, that team also has to have a collective trust in their ability. So, there's so many statistics out there about what percentage of tech projects fail, and there's no reason to believe that the odds are stacked against you. I think it's very important that all teams believe that they can succeed and then take their actions on a day-to-day basis based on being successful on a step-by-step basis, recognizing that you can course correct at any point. It's also important to trust your collective ability. So one person alone is probably not going to be able to undertake any project of significance. The more complicated the project, the more perspectives that are needed to get it executed properly. And you can trust in your collective ability and trust in the fact that you can bring in new people and new perspectives, and you will learn things together that will help you all succeed. And that relates to the trusting the fact that you can benefit from additional perspectives. You can teach people things that people can learn, and you can teach. And if you keep all of those things in mind, then the chances of success are much higher. So some parting thoughts before we tackle exercise. There's certainly an unbelievable amount of uncertainty today in the world. And in some ways it's exciting. While there's some very unfortunate things going on from a health perspective, the health situation is certainly very sad and scary. There is an opportunity. There's an opportunity to overcome it. I think we all believe that we can overcome this. And I do believe technology is an important tool in all of it. Healthcare, community building, helping fix the environmental issues, helping to fix the economic challenges that are resulting from this. But we have to recognize that there's a lot we don't know, and there's going to continue to be conflicting theories. There's conflicting theories in almost every field. Physics, there's conflicts between the theory of relativity and the quantum mechanics. There's conflicting theories in healthcare. There's conflicting theories in epidemiology. You can pick up the paper and read at least 2 sides to every story based on an expert's opinion. And it's important that we really figure out, as we're navigating this, who do we trust and why? And really leveraging that trust and challenging ourselves to ask ourselves that question about trust, because building that trust is what we need to evolve and to succeed. So I would like, before we take questions, to recognize the COVID-19 Resilience Fund. I think you'll have seen some of the pop-ups on the platform, and I think it's really a wonderful thing that the virtual Dreaming is raising money to help address this resiliency fund and support Mercy Corp and some other non-profit charity partners. With some of the time that we have left, I would like you all to take a piece of paper and do a little exercise for yourself. In a in-person environment, we would do little breakout sessions and have some conversations around this. But I think it's a good exercise to kind of absorb what I've just been speaking about and let your mind play with it a little bit. So if you think of an example from your own experience, think of an example where there's been, or maybe it could be a current project, it could be a past experience, where you've had some difficulty communicating productively with others, where you've not been able to find solutions, where your team isn't working well together. You're just not meeting the goals that you had set out. The customer might not be satisfied and the project just isn't getting done. Think of an example from your own experience. And think about how you would describe the level of trust that existed in that situation. Were there clear motives? Did you believe in the ability of the others that you were working with? Were people acting authentically? And think about the relationships that were impacted by lack of trust. And I'm just going to give you a few minutes to think about that situation and write it down. Because I think by pulling back the layers of trust in those situations, you will come to realize that there may be some actions that could be taken to correct the situation and to overcome the problems. Well, I gave you a few extra minutes, I guess, to work on your exercise. And I'd be happy to take questions now.
Question which is there, any tips for gaining trust back after it is lost?
That's a great one. I think that to me, the best way to build trust back after it's been lost is to have a conversation and really get to the root of what caused the trust to break in the first place. It does require an uncomfortable conversation sometimes. You have to make yourself a little bit vulnerable and realize that the person that you are going to be interacting with might not have the same desire to get the trust back that you do, and be willing to walk away. You have to kind of go into it with that mindset, I think, to have the to get over the fear of having those kinds of conversations. But sometimes, like I said, it's perspectives. There's I was having a conversation with someone a month or so ago, and they were talking about someone who applied for a job and how they didn't trust that they had the skills that were necessary because they didn't receive a physical thank you letter in the mail. And it was fascinating to me that, that people, I've always told people, advise them to send a thank you note, for example, but that something so little broke the trust in what they believe to be a fabulous candidate for a job, where having a conversation to say, this is my perspective on things, let's get on the same page. Broken for much bigger reasons. And it's really a conversation. It's really a conversation in getting to the root of what caused the trust to break. If you have any questions, I'm happy to stay on, but if you would like to gain another 8 minutes back in your day, I'm happy to conclude here as well.
Yeah, so I don't see any questions pop up on chat, but Marianne, thank you so much for doing this.